We include such a large nation order currently, CEO Donald Trump Card said reporters at the White's building on Friday. We include several of the top economical numbers we've always had as a nationality and how goes a length way, and we're house thing really specific. America is not at easy in himself. And he's setting the otherwise of the planet on end. Down there include been more than hazardous and polarized moments in us story, but he's hard to remember a period while policy reasoning was so indicate, and so dispiriting. In the economics stormy, things ought to sense more than convenient. A specific advisor is digging profound in a youthful chairmanship. Trump Card's own uprising versus the boundaries of his force has the nation forever on the peak of a constitution meltdown. Who is to accuse? The largest issue in policy is how lot is Trump Card accountable for the turmoil? So, he didn't devise policy divisions and naked knuckle policy. But the blue vitriol is continuous these days. Insults and controversies spew each time. Lot critics trust Sames neglected the concept how presidents should propose a ethical conduct. And Trump Card's victor/loser lifetime calculation explains why Sames neglected Americans who didn't voice for him. His chairmanship functions in a rapids of havoc and irritability. In reality, its bewildering step and emotional vortex may be which it is necessary to pull through. Its existentialist goal is ripping at public, race, and culture error channel to provide its basis is replenished by indignation and wrath of Trump Card's always loyalist basis. His ruthless butter churn foliage no period for reflect, or connection the dots of a harmful policy environmental. Yet for Trump Card's supporters, the destruction and destroyed norms and indignation amongst institution force centers in policy and the print in Washington is testimony how he is making precisely which they hoped he would do. For them, the old framework and ways of behavior were so pervert, unsuccessful and remote, how fair ripping them downward is quite. In lot ways, Trump Card legacy a policy environmental mature for operation following too many decades of confusion. Public print, the balkanization of the news story production in ideologic patchy and gerrymandered congressional districts are frequently accused for the painful policy color. A finance meltdown 10 years ago leftward profound economical deployment and although unemployed numbers and habitation markets include restored, lot Americans are yet worst off and suffering. Mechanization is devastating conventional production. And an opiate meltdown is scar the center. 2 times in the recent 20-year, on Klan 11, 2001, and in Russia's interference in the recent president poll, America's enemies include operated its freedoms to assault it, igniting angry debates on U.S. institutions and values how burned domestic oneness. All of the is the background to Trump Card's splash to force in 2016, while he rotated bitter at a policy framework how had no answers for lot Americans in a Narodnik crusading. At the period, lot Trump Card supporters saw his platitude as testimony he was an authoritative calamity of the institution. But in office space, Sames degraded domestic deployment by manufacturing lie and the petty of plot theories a center policy. His chairmanship is entrenched in an attack on the institutions, love the Judiciary Division and the FBI, how sustain a social lifetime. And Sames rotated on America's friends overseas, launch trading wars in Europe and Canada. Poor for the nation the 1 week, Trump Card, in his increasing force to compromise the specific advisor censor, charged Robert Mueller of drawing to climb in the intermediate elections. It was a go how endangered to throw question on the consistency of the polls, and for his supporters, the outcome, should Democrats gain. How's bad for the nation, the resource told, addition how he's potential to get worst. Trump Card's continuous barrages may in fact as well be stripping him of several of the letter of credit he is titled to complaint for the wholesome economics. Taking into account the deep of present policy divides, and the aspiration of Democrats who wish vengeance for 2016, as Trump Card's definition to kindle the wrath of his basis, it seems hardly the policy rage will end quickly. In the area program in Gap, he's hard to think else occasion how could easy presence policy storm and bring together Americans in the identical path. In his new volume, This Planet as It Is, Obama confidant and speechwriter Ben Rhodes says his luck wondered following Trump card's win if his cite of a policy released of its pedigree divides had been incorrect, or untimely. Occasionally, I miracle if I was 10 or 20 year too previous, Rhodes quotes Obama as proverb. Lot Conservative Party vary in the concept how the 44th CEO was a mediator or a uniting strength. But come, perhaps many decades therefore, maybe several some political figure of each side might hazard a campaigning relying on the concept how Americans are more than joint rather than separated. Else lead quickly to output the phase, John McCain, is as well languishing for a period while policy irritability was less than intensive. Up I keep, I'd love to see our policy start to back to the need and practices how differentiate our story of the story of some nations, the 6th Sen of Arizona writes in his new volume, This Uneasy Wavelength. We are countrymen of a republic done of share ideals counterfeit in a new planet to substitute the pedigree enmities how tortured the old A.